This week's episode brought to you by Zombieco's Blood Zom Thrombosis Testing Kits. Are you still walking upright and speaking English? This ad is for you. Everyone loves finding another survivor, but what about when you get into a scuffle with our dearly departed? Wouldn't it be nice to know when to put that gun to their head and when it's just a case of the sniffles? Well, wonder no more with Zombieco's Blood Zom Thrombosis Testing Kits. You might remember life before all the diabetics died when they would test their blood for glucose or glumbose or whatever that shit was that was wrong with them. Well, our blood zom thrombosis testing kits is basically the same as that, but it requires a sample from your eye because the eyes are the window to the soul, and zombies have no soul. Zombieco's blood zom thrombosis testing kits for when you absolutely have to be sure that putting down your significant other is the right thing to do. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk, an opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Your panel of expert hosts each week are Dr. Bryce Hansen, who holds a PhD in spookology, and Professor David Day, the foremost expert in scare no-nos. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. I'm David Day.
I'm Bryce Hansen.
And boy, do we have a great episode for you guys today. I did not expect this. This may be a little bit out of left field, too, because I think we mentioned on a few different media that this would be about The Lighthouse, which I was super excited for, but it's not. This is about Zombieland Double Tap, the second Zombieland, which was a hoot. And
it was a hoot and a half.
A hoot and a half, yeah. And The Lighthouse came out a day after the Zombieland. And so we saw this because it gave us the appropriate amount of time and we were going to do it anyway.
Well, yeah, The Lighthouse has the same release date as Zombieland Double Tap. And usually when they say it comes out on Friday, there's always a Thursday, 7 o'clock showing.
Not in The Lighthouse's case.
Not in The Lighthouse's case. So I don't know if I was just blind or the user interface for Fandango is just bad or they changed it last second.
No, we both saw it.
Because we swore that it was showing it at the theater that we can go to, but it's not. So we'll review that next week.
So, yeah. So look out for The Lighthouse next week. Before we get into the show, check us out at our website, www.horrormovietalk.com. From there, you got links to all our social media, all of our blogs. We have a new blog coming to you this week. I'm so excited because Keith has done another blog. This is, I think, his 10 favorite flavors of zombies. So pretty
apropos for our Zombieland Double Tap.
And Keith's blogs are huge. Like they're dissertations.
They're comprehensive.
Yeah, he does a great job. So be on the lookout for that this week. We post new episodes every Wednesday, so make sure to subscribe. And of course, we're really trying to work on those iTunes ratings. So just go through there, head on to iTunes, click 5-star, 4-star. I'll even accept 3-star. Just click some stars. And,
I have been noticing that people have been taking the call to action seriously.
They sure have.
We've improved our ratings. Again, our goal is to get to 200 ratings by our 2-year mark, which is... We're
going to be on Rotten Tomatoes, people. Yeah. It's going to happen. So just deal with it and rate us, please. So with that, let's get into the show. Today, as I said, we will be talking about Zombieland Double Tap. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a miserable dredge where it makes you angry you had to sit through it, 5 being a totally average film that hits all the expected marks, and 10 being a movie that is so good that it transcends genre boundaries. Good job. And it should win an award, but it won't because it's a horror movie. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. And later in this episode, we will be doing a beloved fan favorite game, a special edition of Kill Count.
Ooh.
Yes, this special edition of Kill Count pits, now so you better stick around for it, pits movie bad villains against each other to see who has the highest kill count across their respective franchises.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. Right now, let's get into Zombieland. Double Tap. We like we have already mentioned, we saw Double Tap in theaters, and I was overcome with a fabulous time. This franchise understands its audience and its niche, and really ends up feeling like an excuse for famous actors to get together and have a blast making a movie.
Yeah.
Which, as it turns out, means that's just kind of a good time for everyone.
Right.
So with that, let's get into the trailer.
Hey, Possum Ace.
Sorry, just you in that chair.
I think I would have made a damn fine president.
You would have brought a real dignity to the office.
You're welcome, America.
Welcome to Zombieland. Life is about more than just survival. We were a family. Dysfunctional, sure, but what family isn't?
Merry Christmas! What would you like, little girl?
I'd really like for you to stop calling me little girl.
Do you know what I would like?
I don't give a shit what you do.
It felt so good to be on the move again.
Whoa! Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Hi, I'm Columbus.
Madison.
This is Tallahassee.
Hey, Paul Blart. Is this your dad? Oh, whoopsie. I forgot the seatbelt rule.
Oh, so she knows the rules?
I told her just a few of them.
73. Are there more?
You're cute. I like it. My sister is gone. She picked up a boy. He's from Berkeley.
Berkeley!
You don't have weed, do you?
Do I look like the type of person that would have weed?
I'm sorry.
Boom! Yeah?
I have nothing against hippies. I just want to beat the shit out of them. We're gonna go get her. We ride it, Dawn.
Start talking.
You first. Oh, my name's Tallahassee. Die, zombie! Light him up! No! That's my ride! Oh, my apologies, little Elvis.
Okay, is it me, or does he kind of remind you of...
I don't like you. At all.
I think you double parked. Or more perpendicular parked. Hope we don't get a ticket.
What is going on here?
What?
Hello, everyone.
Am I hallucinating?
So, if you have seen the official trailer of Zombieland Double Tap,
Pretty much seen most of the movie.
you've seen literally all the parts of them. This is what I fucking hate about trailers, and why I will never watch them, is because, I mean, this is not a complex movie, first of all. It's a fun movie. I had a great time. I loved it. But it is not complex. And they literally, beat by beat, that's the whole movie.
Well,
not
yeah,
that,
I mean,
not like you're spoiling anything in Zombieland Double Tap.
Right. I mean, there's some stuff that you would assume is a larger part of the plot that's just like a pit stop.
Yeah.
So
this movie's a pit stop.
Yeah, the whole that's true.
Yeah.
The whole Luke Wilson and Thomas Middleditch cameo.
Yeah.
That felt like that was going to be a significant part of the movie in the trailer, and it's really just a pit stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, there's really not a lot to this movie. If you're gonna dissect it like we will, you're gonna come to a cul-de-sac very quickly. Right. So Zombieland, like I said, Zombie Tap
Double Land.
Double Land isn't a very deep movie that requires much in the way of explanation or critical analysis. It's just a fun time. Our lovable characters from the first movie are back, living their lives in Zombieland and kicking ass. The controversy in this story starts with Columbus, played by Jesse Eisenberg, proposing to Wichita, played by the gorgeous Emma Stone, which creates a rift in their relationship due to Wichita's inability to be close to basically anyone. She and Little Rock leave the family with only a note to explain their departure, and Tallahassee, played by Woody Harrelson, and Columbus are floored. They're very upset by this. While on the run, Wichita and Little Rock, played by Abigail Breslin, you may remember her as the little girl from Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
Who is now in her early 20s, which is fucking weird to think of. But there it is. The youngest of this, Little Rock, is the youngest of this adoptive family, and she decides that post-pubescence is pointless without a cute boy to bang, so she leaves the safety of her family. She leaves even Wichita and ventures into Zombieland with a cute boy from Berkeley called, you guessed it, Berkeley.
Can you believe that Zombieland came out a decade ago?
I can't. No, that's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago.
That's like a third of my life.
If
I'm being very generous to myself.
I always measure it against public school, like you'd be a sophomore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. So the gang decides that they have to go after her and rescue her from this hippie life that she's, deciding to go on. And this is the basis for most of the movie. They're trying to find Little Rock.
Yeah, the plot has very little to do with the actual film. It is a fun movie. That's the number one priority for these films.
Oh yeah,
and this is like one of those where if you call it a film, it's kind of pretentious. This is a movie.
Yeah,
and for these movies, priority number one is fun and gimmicks.
Yeah,
and like set pieces.
Yeah, set pieces. Yeah.
And so everything in this movie is kind of stringed together, set pieces and funny ideas, and the plot and interpersonal relationships are secondary. They're, at times it's convincing, at times it works, but for the most part it's like, okay, we're just getting everyone into a certain situation in which we can have interesting things happen.
I was trying to boil down this movie into a nice metaphor, and there's a couple that I have, but I think the most effective one is hearken it to a party. Right? There's a lot of different kinds of parties. This is Animal House party. You know, you're excited to go because you know a bunch of wild, wacky shit's going to happen, and you get there and it's just a roller coaster ride from beginning to end. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just a kind of a drunken stupor, and but boy, you know you had a good time and you can't wait for the next one. So that's kind of what I will hearken this to. There's some great cameos and new characters who add quite a bit in the way of entertainment, like the stunning and hilarious Madison, played by Zoe Douche.
I'm going to say Deutsch.
And the strangely Woody Harrelson-esque Albuquerque, played by Luke Wilson, who I haven't seen in anything since 3:10 to Yuma, which was also about 10 years ago. Zombieland Double Tap is easy to watch and is great at what it tries to be, which is fun, funny, and over-the-top action with a little bit of sex thrown in. It's got great writing, the dialogue in particular is spot on, and the jokes are top tier. If you like guns, the use of guns, explosions, laughing, sex, and witty banter, you'll have a blast, especially in the theater. The world that they build is also convincingly zombie-like, so there's that.
Yeah, the sex part is not a very big part of it. It's a very, I mean, this movie should be PG-13. There's no real reason why
there's tremendous amounts of gore. I mean, lots of big explosion-y headshots and violence and lots of cursing.
Yeah, I guess. But, you know,
it's definitely a couple shots of tequila. This is not a glass of wine.
Yeah.
I had a fun time with all the theoretical stuff that you dream about if you constantly dream about zombie hellscapes. Want to live in the White House? Yeah, we can do that in this movie. Cool. Want to propose with the Hope Diamond as your ring? Yeah, we can do that too. Want to shoot first and ask questions later? Neat. Double Tap may not be the most artistic or scary movie this year. In fact, it's not scary at all. It's barely got any scares. But it is tons of fun.
Yeah. The the premise of this movie, I don't remember them doing that much of that type of thing in the first movie, like the going to the White House or like the gimmicks of post-apocalyptic,
right?
Let's go explore the empty world kind of thing. And
there was a few. There's like the carnival, and of course they had the rules, which was a kind of a gimmick.
Well, yeah, that's a gimmick, but I'm talking about the
world exploring,
like the set pieces, world exploring. I think like the carnival was mostly just kind of where they ended up.
Yeah,
I don't think that it was a destination. It's
no
kind of where they went, or they used it as a. I probably should have watched Zombieland before this, but I kind of remember them using it as a lure for the zombies. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what it was. But how they used some of the set pieces and the impetus of the plot was, hey, let's go to the White House, and then, hey, let's go to Graceland, and then, hey, I guess we should find this person that's lost, kind of. And so it reminds me a lot of the TV show, what's that TV show called? It's like The Last Man in the World. It's with the SNL guy.
This is going well.
You know what? Have you never watched that show?
I don't know. I don't know what the show is.
All right, just a second. Give me a second. Reminds me a lot of The Last Man on Earth with Will Forte, that TV show.
Have not seen it.
Man, if you have never seen that, it is a great show. It's all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Of what would you do if you were a bachelor and didn't give a fuck and you're living in a post-apocalyptic world where you're the only person.
This is a recurring dream for me.
It's so... I mean, they take it to just really funny levels. So, just to give you a taste, all the plumbing doesn't work anymore.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, his solution to going to the bathroom is just cutting a hole in a diving board in a pool and just defecating in this full swimming pool.
Yeah. Woo! Ew, that's so gross. Like at first I was like, yeah, a cool, clean swimming pool. That's where I'd poop. And then I thought about like several weeks in and be
right.
Like, oh.
Yeah. Anyways, so it's a little like that. Some of the premises that they set up in Zombieland Double Tap. Yeah, I mean there's lots of parody zombie movies now, and they're all really good because to me the comedy zombie movies are much more interesting than just zombie movies. Yeah,
I mean, at this point, they certainly are. It's been done to death.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my score for this is 8 out of 10. I just had a blast.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that high. I would go... I mean, for me, it's like a high 6.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. What brings it down so much? You were laughing. I looked over. I saw you just sitting there laughing, having a good time.
I mean, the movie, so the performances are great, and the delivery of some of the lines are great. There's some of the script and some of the situations just had me rolling my eyes or looking at my watch.
Oh, it's super tacked on.
Yeah. Everything is super tacked on. It's not as cohesive. It's,
yeah,
it's not a necessary film to watch. Like if you liked Zombieland, sure, it's a little bit more of that, but it's not like if you like Zombieland, you have to see this one.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That's the same thing as saying like it's not necessary to watch is like saying, you don't gotta go see this Slayer concert or whatever it is. Of course you don't have to, but it's a fucking blast when you do, Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me as much. Here's my guess. But I do feel like you're being fairly sincere. Almost 100% sincere. But I think this last little sliver is pretension. Is like you being like, it's not serious.
No, I don't care if it's not serious. It's just some of the pacing was... So one of the biggest detriments to it is... the beginning takes a while to get rolling.
That is, I'll grant you that.
it was worrisome. The first 10, 15 minutes, I was like, uh-oh.
See,
this could be, if it's like this, it's not going to be great. Cause
you mentioned that coming out of the theater, and I had such a totally opposite reaction when you said that. I was like, that's all the stuff that I'm most interested in. Like, what you would do in a zombie hellscape, you know, like, and so I was sitting there through the start being like, I hope this goes on. I hope it's just kind of an episode of Friends with zombies.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just nothing is actually happening.
Right.
Like, it's all like, hey, you wonder what we've done since the last movie? And I answer in my head, no. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care how you got here. Or how you just show me, you know, like, just don't tell me, show me through the actions of the characters. And they kind of set up, they like take a bunch of time to say like, hey, look, there's different kinds of zombies now. They've evolved. Yeah. I'm like, okay,
cool.
I mean, you can, and then you don't need to like start out the movie at this like grinding pace of just like trying to, I mean, yeah. It just didn't work. I remember the first Zombieland starting out like, real quick, set the premise, and you were like off, and it was a roller coaster from then. And this one started off slow, and then it started picking up steam. I'm like, okay, I can get on board. This is starting to get fun again, especially when they add Madison into it. Oh, she's the best part of it. And then throughout the movie, there's a couple like stretches where it's kind of grinds to a halt. You're like, oof,
deep lulls.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, what was the purpose of this? And there's not like the connective tissue wasn't as strong, and the motivations for the characters were felt tacked on. It's like, oh, we got to go. Oh, someone's missing. We got to go find them now.
Yeah, there's a quite a few scenes that are literally just there as vehicles to accomplish a cool gunfight, or to showcase a Gatling gun, or
So for example, I mean, and I'm fine with that too. Yeah. But for example, if you're gonna build a movie off the framework of a plot or a problem to address, like, just be consistent with it, or come up with an idea that will last the whole movie.
Yeah.
So, for example, Emma Stone and Abigail Breslin leave the other
White
two,
House,
and they don't seem quick to go find them.
No,
they're like, okay, well, I guess they're gone then. And then Emma Stone comes back, and all of a sudden they're like, we gotta find my sister.
Yeah,
it's like, but what? I mean, you didn't care before.
Well, so it kicks it. What it does is, I mean, they do explain it, that, which is Woody Harrelson feels fatherly instincts towards Little Rock. And he learns that she's with a hippie, and he cannot stand that.
Yeah, it's fine, but it's so obviously a device. Like, when I can see, it's like when you're in a haunted house ride, and like one of the strobe lights go off, and you see
down the hallway, you
see some of the mechanism of a ghost that pops out at you, like the little metal expanding arm. You're like, okay.
It takes the romance out of it.
It's just, you see like the edges, or you see some worker walking around. You're like, okay, I know how this works now.
How dare you condescend to me? Tell me what I like, Bryce.
So there's a couple points where it's like, okay, they're going to find Abigail Breslin's character, but then also they want to go to Graceland because they think that's where she's going. But why would they think she's going there?
But she did.
But she did. Yeah, I don't know. I think
it's this weird double-edged game of cat and mouse where it's like, okay, yeah.
It just, I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's fun. It's a fun movie. It's just, it doesn't work as much for me.
Tickle your pickle.
Tickle my pickle. So, I mean, Aaron really wanted to see this movie, and I could have seen it on Friday.
Yeah.
But I didn't want, maybe that's like another indicator that if it was so fun, if it was an 8, I would want to see it the next day with someone else.
I can't fathom wanting to see any movie a second time. I cannot fathom it.
Oh man, there's movies that I like. If I saw The Witch and wanted someone else to see it, I would go see with them
now
the next day.
Yes, that is a rare circumstance where...
Yeah, so that's like level 8, 9, 10 for me is I want to force people to see this because it's so good. They need to see this. And
I recommend that anybody looking for a good time go see this movie.
Yeah. It's not bad.
Okay.
But just
all
not,
right. You got your 6. Jesus Christ. So with that, guys, you should check us out on Patreon. We have new tiers on Patreon where there's a value tier that's just $2 a month and you get to support the podcast. And then there's tiers ranging all the way up to, really, you can donate however much you want. $666. We would appreciate it.
So we'll let you explore what the different tiers offer, but here's a couple perks that you can unlock if you become a patron. You can unlock the calendar for future episodes if you want to watch the movies that we're going to be reviewing in advance.
Yeah.
We also have afterpods where we keep the mics rolling.
Yeah, we have a whole nother podcast available to Patreon members at a certain tier. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's the $5 tier. That is on top of this podcast.
Yeah, and also for some tiers, we release the episode as soon as we have it edited, so you'll get access to new episodes a couple days early.
Yeah, either like Saturday, Sunday, or early in the week usually, but we're not making any strong promises.
Yeah.
Also, if you'd like to support the show, you can head on over to Shudder. It is the season of Halloween. I don't know if you're if you knew this, but it is, and Shudder has tons and tons of streaming horror for you to watch. And if you just enter HMT at checkout, you get 30 days free, so you can cover the rest of October. Watch tons and tons of horror. Like old slasher classics like Chopping Mall.
Yeah, they got a lot of classic B movie slashers that are a lot of fun.
Tons of fun.
But a lot of nice art house horror movies. Lots of Italian giallo movies. They've got Halloween 4, 5, and 1.
The original, yeah.
They don't have 2.
Texas Chainsaw. It's
Texas
all
Chainsaw
there.
Massacre. There's just a ton of stuff.
So enter HMT and at checkout and get 30 days free instead of that stupid 7-day that we hate so much. You can also support the podcast by buying or renting anything on Amazon. If you just go to our website and click through our banner at the top, it says spend on Amazon. And if you just bookmark that every time that you go through that link, you will help support the show.
And then one very special call to action that you'll find on the website is
the most important call to action this season. People.
You'll see a big jack-o'-lantern image and a link underneath inviting you to enter our pumpkin carving contest.
We have a submission.
We have one submission. So it's getting now's your chance. It's getting close enough to Halloween that you should be carving a pumpkin. So please enter our pumpkin carving contest, because if you win, you'll get a set of Funko Pop dolls of the 3 witches from Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. And remember, one of those is Sarah Jessica Parker. So, you can do with that bobblehead whatever you
I wonder how many people have masturbated to a pop doll.
Oh, man. Yeah, actually, probably at least 4,000.
I mean, it's not 0.
At least 4,000.
At least 4,000.
These are kind of hot. I'm not gonna lie. I don't see them here. I don't see them around, but I've looked at pictures of them for a while. And
so spice it up. Enter our pumpkin carving contest to enter to win. So yeah, if you win first place, you'll get the set of 3 Hocus Pocus dolls. If you get second place, we'll give you a download of Hocus Pocus by Focus.
Yeah.
And if you get third place, you get nothing.
You're fired. Hey guys, just real quick, Audible here. Forgot to mention, do check out dgoebel, that 00, that's DGOEBEL 00 on Instagram, because he's doing the original artwork for all of our posts right now. So check him out. Super cool stuff. I loved his Which One. I haven't seen what's coming up on Zombieland, but I'm sure it'll be great. So shout out to dgoebel. That's Dustin at DGOEBEL 00 on Instagram. He's got you covered for any of your artistic horror needs. Back to the show. So with that, let's get into spoilers. Spoilers. Wow, I got some beefy toots going on.
Damn. So this whole movie, while we were watching it, I was smelling these rank ass farts, and I'm like, oh man, it's just slowly wafting. You can just imagine a fog like slowly creeping around you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, is someone behind me or in front of me beefing? And I was like, it was so prevalent, the stench
prevalent,
that I started wondering if it was me.
I made Bryce question his own hygiene with my farts.
Yes, because it was just there all the time, and it's like, did I just not wash my ass well enough? Did I like shift and it unreleased like some fold of stench into the air, and I'm just it's that kind of crazy inducing stench where it's like, what is that smell?
So after the movie, he's like, were you farting? I was like, could you smell those? He's like, it was unending. It was never ending stench.
At this point, I should just be able to recognize his farts.
It's let me tell you,
it's like a fucking hot box in here.
I didn't smell a thing. I was like, I tried the first one. I was like, okay,
pretty good.
Okay, we're safe.
Pretty good.
We're safe. We're good. We don't have to worry. Just continue with that. And now I get why the kid behind me was kicking my chair the whole time. He probably knew it was my toots. Yeah,
it was probably that like AC created a Gulf Stream that transported your farts right into my nasal cavity.
So this movie, Jesse Eisenberg is once again our kind of semi-narrator. He's not, he's not at it all the time, but he's definitely in your ear for a bit.
Lots of voiceovers from him.
Yeah,
and the whole framework of the franchise is built on his rules.
Yeah,
and his like particular perspective of the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, you guys should check out, if you're curious about the Zombieland rules, I have the full list of rules and some additional ones that Double Tap has added on my post, on this post for the show at horrormovietalk.com, so check it out. At the start of the movie, they introduce us to several different kinds of zombies that are classified and then very quickly forgotten, with the exception of one. We have the Homer,
which is a dumb zombie.
Yeah, he's Homer Simpson kind of. He'd eat his own foot kind of. And then you have the Hawking, which we never see again.
Yeah,
the Homer is a staple throughout. We see him a couple times. The Hawking, as you might imagine, is named after Stephen Hawking and is very smart. Mm-hmm. What's the third one?
Ninja. So sneaky silent zombies.
Yeah.
And then
we never see those ever.
Yeah. Why did they take time to set up these zombies if there was never going to be a situation in which they'd use them in the film?
It's kind of fun.
It's like
it is kind of fun. You can't say it wasn't.
Okay.
It filled 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah. Filled
so
3 and 4 boring minutes. It's like that rule where if in the beginning of a play there's a gun over the mantle in the scene, by the end of the second act, that gun needs to have been fired.
Right.
Basically.
Right. Yeah, and then finally there is a new strain, a more terrifying strain of zombie, which they term the T-800. as you may remember.
For the Terminator.
Right, you might remember that reference. And they are almost unstoppable. That's their characteristic. They just keep on coming at you till you destroy them. So this movie did get an unfair boost at the start. It used heavy weaponry against David and broke out Metallica, Master of Puppets. By the way, this episode, if you're listening to it on YouTube, all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel, so you can check them out there. But this one is definitely going to be flagged because that whole trailer was just AC/DC and other rap songs by that guy who likes to bark a lot.
Well, we could just take it out.
Nah.
Actually, when they flag it, they give you the option to just take out the portion that that is offending, and I'll just edit it for you.
Maybe.
But we don't monetize it, so it doesn't even matter. But
Master of Puppets was used brilliantly in a slow-mo montage. They even use the lyrics. Like, you know how a lot of movies will, they'll stop with the instrumental? Uh-huh. No, they let him sing Master of Puppets, Master, and oh man, I just get chills. That's one of the best songs ever recorded.
So your experience with Metallica isn't ruined by your recent concert experience forever?
Look, I have very little remaining respect for the members of Metallica. But that being said, when they were younger, they created the most badass shit maybe ever in existence.
Right.
And so
David went and saw Metallica in concert in Portland with his wife last year, and he reported to me that it was the most disappointing and sad experience of his life. Especially the part where they got together in a drum circle.
I spent fucking tons of money to go to get bad seats to see Metallica in the round, and it was fucking awful. Now you're talking to a person. This is a person who I've listened to Metallica since I was a wee tiny child. It was one of the first things I ever listened to. It formed my opinions on music, and they just fucking slaughtered themselves. Like, they just eviscerated every ounce of respect I had for them. They had like a drum circle with electronic drums.
I guess they're releasing S&M 2. That's like their next thing. I'm kind of curious about that.
Okay, so you say those words, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, because literally any Metallica release after 1989 is pure dog shit.
You didn't like S&M?
S&M, I don't...
It's the one with the symphony?
No, I know. Yeah, no, that's fine, I guess. I don't know.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, how could it get more epic? Yeah, sure. That's if they're doing their good songs, then yeah. But that's great. But they should not. Metallica only should exist today to play pre-1989 Metallica songs. That's all I'm going to say. So,
all right.
And you can disagree with me. That's fine. Everybody has opinions. Just mine are more important. So yeah, the montage at the beginning really lit it off for me. I loved it. And then we cut to the White House, which is filled with everything you want to have, fun with, like guns and paraphernalia, like the Bob's Big Boy, and they're clearly using bow and arrows in the house. And
I don't want to completely rain on the parade, but there was a part
here I go.
There was a part of me that found that distracting, to where they're in the White House, but they also have like astronaut uniforms from the Apollo missions in the background, and they've got, just various and sundry items from the Smithsonian.
Well, it's just right down the street.
I guess so.
The Smithsonian's just right there, really.
Why wouldn't you? I don't know. It just felt...
Are you saying you would have rather them taken a trip down to the Smithsonian and Smithsonian?
I mean, that would have been more interesting.
That, and then, yeah.
If they had opened the movie on them raiding the Smithsonian, that would be
badass.
Way more interesting than, hey guys, remember this movie Zombieland from a decade ago? let's get you familiar with the tropes.
Because that's where all the stuff they had anyway was coming from anyway. You know, they had the Hope Diamond.
Yeah.
That's in the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then it was kind of just a lull. It was like Jesse Eisenberg kind of explaining how him and Emma Stone were happily sleeping together.
Yeah, I was talking about
in the Abe Lincoln room.
I'm just talking about this in the car with David, that it's just kind of a weird choice to open on when everything's nice.
Yeah.
Everything's very nice and everyone's nice to each other and everything's going great. It's kind of a... it's an okay place to open, but if your movie is going to... the majority of it being action, like, just open in the middle of the action with the main characters, not tacked on action.
Did you miss the part where I talked about them playing Master of Puppets to a slow-mo montage of them blowing zombies' brains out?
Whatever. I don't know. It just fell flat for me.
All right. Now,
I just didn't care about the movie until later on.
I'm going to segue here into... because, okay, so I'm going to be really, like, just stone cold honest with the audience here at this point. There's not a lot to talk about with this movie, other than what I've already said. I mean, there's some stuff, and we'll try, but I am going to talk about other things because it's there's not a lot of meat on this bone. It is just a fun time. So why zombies don't work, Bryce? This is why zombies can't really work long term. All right. So Max Brooks, who is Mel Brooks' son, wrote probably like 15 years ago now, wrote the I think it was World War Z, or he did write World War Z, and he also wrote the Zombie Survival Guide or something like that. And both of them brilliant looks at the reality of what zombies may be if it did happen. And it details the kind of like the breakdown of the virus and why it'll stop working after time, right? So basically, it results. It's what we're talking about here is the breakdown of biological matter, right? You got flies, you got bacteria, you got no new cells are being made in the body, and sinew breaks down over time, and just eventually, whatever the virus was working on, the brain, it's just going to disintegrate. It's going to be eaten by maggots and stuff like that. And then it's just going to be gone. And depending on, where the zombie ends up, they don't need air to breathe. So a lot of them might just walk into the ocean and end up just kind of just walking around at the bottom of the ocean real slow, Right. So it's like, it doesn't work in this like long 3-year scenario. And yeah,
it's one of the things with The Walking Dead where it kind of, after a certain point, you're like, yeah, but wouldn't all the zombies be dead by now?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't all of them be dead?
And you can...
Just from rotting, or... what was the other thing? Yeah, just from rotting flesh off the bones to where it's literally would just be skeletons walking around.
Right. And that can't work.
Because even after, like, 2 months...
A lot is gone.
if you were to like take a dead body that was decomposing for 2 months and just jiggle it, everything would just slough off the bones.
Right.
Like there's nothing that would survive.
This dead and obviously this is a great segue into Keith's new blog about what kind of zombies he likes, 10 different kinds. But this dead zombie, I don't think holds a candle to the 28 days later zombie, which is basically a live human that's infected with some like ultra strain of rabies, basically,
right.
Like rage.
Right.
Anyway, so that's kind of something that I always liked. I mean, you can't watch a zombie movie without kind of like theorizing about what you would do or how it would work. So there's lots of fun side games and asides in this movie. There is the Zombie Kill of the Year, or ZKOTY, which is a way to showcase like the most ridiculous ways to kill zombies.
Yeah, and that was a great device.
Yeah,
that was the stuff where they pulled away. It was kind of Family Guy-esque.
Yeah,
of let's jump to this other scene of this other person. It doesn't explain how they knew about I mean,
No, but
how would they know that someone in Italy? But it doesn't matter. It was fun.
Yeah,
it worked.
Yeah.
It was that stuff worked.
Tell them about the one you're talking about.
So the
This is my favorite one.
Zombie kill of the year. Before the end of the movie, it shows a man in Italy, in Pisa, and he's poses for a photo with a fake, like a mannequin family.
She's like, "Oh, my family is here. Oh, look at them, look at them.
Hey,
They're so
can you
tasty."
take our picture? And then there's like a group of zombies that are like being zombies.
They run at the
They run at the
mannequins.
man and attack the mannequins, and the man goes behind the Leaning Tower of Pisa with a
bottle jack.
with a jack and just tips it over on top of the zombies.
He tips the Leaning Tower of Pisa over onto 3 zombies.
So that should tell you about how subtle this movie is.
Not very.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, there's Columbus's rules. New rules that I was able to catch in this movie, because the first movie ended at 32 rules, but he added to it. He almost doubled it, 70-something rules in this movie. But of those, I think we only got 3 new original ones, maybe 4. And they are Rule 43, enjoy the little things. Rule 52, don't be afraid to ask for help. And Rule 53, this is a must, wet naps. So Columbus proposes to Wichita in the White House, and she takes off with Little Rock, and this upsets Tallahassee's kind of fatherly side. But like Bryce said, they don't really move. They just kind of sit there, and they're kind of content to be alone again with each other.
And then pretty quickly, they made a new character, Madison,
Yes.
at a mall that they're raiding. And Madison is the best part of this movie.
She's a bright, glimmering ray of transcendent light.
So it's Valley Girl turned up to 11.
Mm-hmm.
Pink, fuzzy clothes and, Gucci pink bags and stuff.
Very sex kitten
Yes.
attire and intent.
And she's hilarious. She's the best part of the movie.
Her timing and the jokes that they have for her are perfect.
Yeah.
It's so apparent that she is not the character she's playing in the movie. She's a very, very smart person who has very, very good acting chops.
But like the character, she is gorgeous. So that helps.
Just devastatingly beautiful. Yeah, she's the beloved lapdog wife that Tom Segura speaks of. And the one that
character.
Yeah, the one that I deserve for my second wife.
Uh-huh.
So, Zoe Deutsch, if you're listening, hey,
I think you should say it different every time.
just
to cover all your bases.
This podcaster is just throwing a baited hook out there. Just saying, I do have 2 beautiful daughters that lots of women fawn over. So if that gets you in, don't worry about my wife. So yeah, and she says, I was completely and totally sold on her when she starts getting frisky with Columbus in the Abe Lincoln bedroom. And he's like, I don't know if we should do this. She's like, listen, I've been alone in a freezer for 3 years, and we're having sex right now. And he's like, I just feel kind of guilty about it. And she's like, why? If you feel guilty because of Jesus, I know a way around that. And then she winks at him, and I'm like, yay!
Yeah. And then he's like, because he's still getting over his, abandonment by his girlfriend that he just proposed to. And then when she says, listen, I'm going to have sex, and if you don't want to do it, I'm going to have to go down to the old guy.
Yeah.
And I'll do it.
I will.
And he's like, okay.
All right,
let's do it.
Yeah. That accurately portrays a dude's thought process.
Right.
Which is like, okay, all right, yes, fine. So yeah, she's a smoke show. Tallahassee at some point in the movie, a little bit later than this, starts his own rule set. He has one single rule, and that rule is it takes a real man to drive a pink Cadillac.
Well, no, he comes up with the rule, and then he's like, nah, I'm not going to make rules. Rules are for wusses.
Yeah. This
is no offense.
His arc in this his arc in this movie is basically, I don't want Little Rock hanging around some hippie pacifist bullshit kid, so I got to go get her. And also, I got to go see Graceland because I always wanted to see Graceland because I love Elvis. Mm-hmm. And that's really as complex as it gets.
They go to Graceland and it's not there.
Yeah, they go to Graceland and Graceland is burned down or something. It's very hard to tell.
Yeah,
dark.
They did not shoot it very well. It took them stating out loud, Graceland is in rubble, for us to even understand what we were looking at.
Yeah.
Because, I guess I don't know what Graceland looks like normally, and it was very dark. They should have shown it in the day. I don't know. Anyways, then they go find another house that has like a bunch of neon.
It's like a replica of Graceland.
Yeah, it's like a replica or
a tribute.
Just like a what's it called?
A hotel.
Like an altar to Graceland.
It's like a themed hotel almost. And it's being kept up by a woman who becomes Tallahassee's love interest. Her name is Nevada, which is as close as he's going to get to learning about her real name, which ends up being Reno.
And she is played by...
Yeah, you'll remember her.
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
Who is it? I think Adam Carolla on his podcast, one of the most hilarious points was him talking about how he was just intimidated by the lip size of Rosario Dawson. It's like, all right, well, I'm quoting him, so this is not me being chauvinist, but he's like them are dick-sucking lips, but they're so large and intimidating, like the scale would be off. Like it would make it like, it would
dwarf the dick.
Yeah, it would just absolutely be intimidating.
Well, maybe yours.
Well, all right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. All right, we can cut that out. That didn't work.
Yeah.
It was funny at the time. Listen to Adam Carolla's show from probably like 10 years ago.
Yeah, back when it made me feel good. So there at Graceland, she introduces the concept of murraying someone, which is rather funny. You may remember the cameo
to the first movie.
The cameo in the first one with Bill Murray, where they accidentally kill Bill Murray because he's walking around in zombie makeup and attire, and he's this concept of murraying someone is basically killing a non-zombie thinking they're a zombie by accident.
Yeah.
And while they're at Graceland with Nevada, Luke Wilson's character, Albuquerque, and Thomas Middleditch, Flagstaff, they show up, and they're a direct mirror of Woody Harrelson and Jesse Eisenberg.
They basically show the whole thing in the trailer for this, and it's amusing little side, and like there's a couple more scenes where Thomas Middleditch and what's his name? I forget his name.
Luke Wilson.
No.
Jesse Eisenberg?
Jesse Eisenberg are talking to each other about their rules and their prioritization and stuff like that, and just nerding out with each other. And it's kind of funny. And then they make the excellent choice of cutting it short because that can only work so long. You wouldn't want to build the movie off of that. So then a zombie attacks, and those two characters are gone.
Those two characters, they have to fight their doppelgangers to survive. But they did drop off a monster truck, which is featured prominently in this movie. Yeah, and Flagstaff has commandments instead of rules, and they all mirror Jesse Eisenberg's or Columbus's rules. They're just worded a little bit differently.
So one of the elements in this movie that we haven't talked about is that Tallahassee's car gets stolen by
Little
Abigail
Rock.
Breslin.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is like they're trying to track her down in this really shitty minivan, and he's not happy about it.
Yeah.
And then they come across a couple opportunities to switch to another car, and stuff happens. and it's just a device, and it's, you know, it's kind of funny, but I kept asking myself, like, they had this really sweet RV. They're like going to hit the road with this beautiful, like, pimped out RV, and then they run over like the spike strips coming out of the thing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh fuck, I guess we better go back to the minivan. And I'm sitting there like, you can't just find some other tires. Just change the tires.
There's a bunch of unused cars. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, first of all,
and then
one of the tires is covered for sure because you have a spare.
Right. And then, I mean, even the back tires are probably doubled up.
Yeah.
And then, so there's that. And then there's the monster truck, and he starts driving it, and then he can't drive it very well. So they go back to the menu. It just doesn't make sense. It's like,
it's just, look,
they force this minivan like bit throughout the whole movie, and that's another example of just like, all right, I get it, it's funny, but it's not as funny as you think it is.
Right. Yeah, it is definitely one of those bits that's like, that looks hilarious on paper, but it ends up just being a disappointment over and over again to not just the characters, to the audience. It's like,
Right.
But I do want to see them in the monster truck, but I do want to see them in the RV. It's like you're punishing us. Yeah. So at this point, the story really kind of devolves. So they understand that Little Rock is on her way with this hippie guy to a place called Babylon, or as Madison calls it, Babylon. and Babylon is a group of pacifists that have, they're Gen Z kids who have like cordoned off a tower, like an apartment tower. And
it actually looks like the Smith Tower in Vancouver.
It does. Yeah, it's a round skyscraper kind of.
So yeah, they have this place cordoned off, and it's surrounded by like freight,
freight containers and like sheet metal.
Mm-hmm.
And
it looks pretty protected.
Yeah, and the idea behind this place is it's a utopia, and they don't allow guns. So they and for some reason they melt down all the guns that anybody has who is approaching.
And then they make a peace sign out of it.
They make
they wear around their necks.
Yeah, it's dumb, but it's funny.
Yeah,
it works. And so Little Rock is there. They show up to reunite with her. They do. And then Woody Harrelson kind of realizes that this is not the place for him. He's got to hit the road again because he's a wandering soul. He hits the road, and he notices this massive stampede of T-800 zombies who are running at the tower, because the tower they're so full of, I don't know what you call that's prideful, I guess. They're lighting off fireworks and stuff like that. They're just doing the dumbest thing you can do in a zombie hellscape.
Yeah. And
so then
he turns around, goes back and warns them, and then they make plans in the quickest fashion. Yeah, that's the other thing is that...
Oh, the planning was so dumb.
Well, not just that, but so he's driving. He can still see... Mm-hmm. The Babylon, like, it's not that far away.
Right.
Like, you can still see the lights.
It takes a half hour for the zombies to show up.
Yeah.
But in reality, you're like, they're like a minute away.
Yeah, they're running.
Yeah.
They're running across a field, and Tallahassee has to turn around and go on the roads, which seems like a more roundabout way.
Shut up.
But then it takes 30 minutes for them to get there.
Oh, my God, Bryce.
They're able to plan and set up.
So, how much of the movie has to make sense for you to be happy? Is it 50% has to make sense? Because that's setting the bar awfully high. I mean, none of this movie makes sense.
I will say this is all in retrospect. Like during watching the movie, I did not think about this. Like maybe like a little bit, because it shows the zombies running towards Babylon. You're like, oh no, they're going to be there immediately. And then once it goes back to Babylon, you forget about that.
But to your point, nothing. Yeah, it all is fucking poorly. Like it's cobbled together. It's just it's all put in with a tack.
Right. I mean, this is whenever you're talking about zombie movies, it's really just a magical world.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't actually make any sense. So if you try to, well, actually, that zombie was this type, and it should have been able to do this, but it did this.
Yeah, if you're the kind that continuity is an issue for you, or you just get hung up on the little things, this movie is not for you, because this movie is full of this shit. Yeah. Full of it. It's just ridiculous.
So there's a big action sequence. I mean, that's the thing to be said about this movie, is that there is not a lot of horror and it,
none.
Not any scares. And you'd think when they set up the zombies, the first thing of like the ninja zombies and the smart zombies, that there would be an element of being chased,
right,
or being like prowled upon or something. Like that's never a part of this movie. It's literally just a action comedy.
Yeah, this is not a horror movie. I know this is called Horror Movie Talk, and we are in, and this movie is technically in that genre, but it is not.
It's not. So there's a couple set pieces to finish out the movie. A bunch of zombies come flowing over the walls, and they light them on fire, and that doesn't work. And then they get the monster truck and run over them.
And run over the zombies with the monster truck. It's badass.
It's badass. It's fun.
Fucking fun.
It's a cool action sequence.
It's dumb to talk about. Can you imagine if this show was called Action Movie Talk?
Ugh.
Oh my God. We'd be so bored. We'd just be like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then he shot some people, and there's explosions. Ugh.
Yeah. And then the final scene is like the zombies running up the tower and chasing after Tallahassee, and then they go off the top of the tower like a bunch of
lemmings or a herd of buffalo or something like that. Okay. And
that's the movie.
And at the end of this movie, there is a Bill Murray.
There's an epilogue that jumps back in time to when Bill Murray was still alive and right as the zombie apocalypse was starting to happen.
Yeah. And that's it. So the credits will start rolling for about probably 20, 30 seconds, something like that. Sorry. And then you'll get this epilogue, and then the credits will continue to roll following the epilogue, until they're all the way done. And then you get a teeny tiny clip of Bill Murray, pretending to barf like a cat.
Yeah. I mean, it's
not worth sticking around for.
Did it work for you? That epilogue, was that
it's
worth it?
No, I mean, no, they never are really. I mean, it's only like if you're so bought into a series that, it's Marvel thing, it's like, oh, what's it gonna be at the end of it? It's gonna put its thumbs up. Oh, that means it's gonna be another one. Oh my God. It's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I never care. That's just not me, bro. Yeah, so fun movie, not particularly deep, but goddamn, it's I had me smiling the whole way through. Big guns,
You're smiling because you're smoking out everyone with your ass cheeks.
Also, Madison was cute.
Yeah,
I loved her.
It was a fun movie. If you want to go to the theater and have a fun time, definitely go see it.
Yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say about Zombieland. Double cap. Let's get into our game, Kill Count. Hey, thank you very much to the King of All Badgers who created that sound effect intro for us. Mm-hmm. So Kill Count is a game where, you guessed it, we pit two movies. Usually we pit two movies against each other and try to get the other guy to guess which one has a higher kill count. But this is a special edition of Kill Count where I pit villains, horror movie villains, against each other, and their respective franchise. So for example, Nightmare on Elm Street, all of the Nightmare on Elm Streets put together up until the year 2017. So, for example, if Child's Play, or Chucky is featured in this, he is, then it doesn't include the 2019 reboot kills in his.
Michael Myers doesn't include the reboot 2018.
Correct.
Okay, because your source wasn't updated.
Right. I mean, what am I going to do? Am I going to watch a fucking million movies and count how many? No, I'm gonna, find out.
Let's do it.
Okay. So the first pairing is Freddy Krueger, as I mentioned before, versus Chucky. Who do you think has the higher kill count?
That has to be Chucky.
Wow. Why is that?
Because I feel like I haven't seen a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, but the ones that I do know about, it feels like he's haunting a small group of kids.
Yeah.
And there's some collateral, but I remember just comparing Nightmare on Elm Street to any other movie. Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, had like 5 kills.
Okay, yeah.
And
yeah, he's not after everyone. It's not like people who get in his way. Mm-hmm. He's very specifically targeted.
And Chucky is much more
haphazard,
going rogue.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Chucky.
Yeah, you are correct. So we have Chucky with 45 kills and Freddy Krueger with 42.
Oh, wow. That's really close.
Yeah. So next I'm pitting Pinhead from Hellraiser against Warwick Davis, the Leprechaun.
Yeah, I'm going to say Warwick Davis,
oh,
the Leprechaun.
Shit. What is making you say that?
Well, to go with the logic from the last answer, Chucky is very small. And Leprechaun is also small. So I feel like they can get around a lot quicker and kill more people.
I got to say.
The same thing applies. Like, I feel like Pinhead, it's another thing where it's like a couple people that are the targets.
Responsible for opening the Pandora's box.
Right.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. You have 2 out of 2.
Woo!
Yeah. Pinhead has 50 kills, whereas Leprechaun has 58.
Oh, that's still really close.
Yeah, it's really close.
I guess that, okay. So, really, what would be more interesting would be kills per movie. Like the average kills per movie, because Leprechaun has 3 movies?
No, there's a bunch. There's Lep in the Hood. There's Lep in the Hood 2. Like, there's a bunch. And Hellraiser, same thing.
Hellraiser, there's like 8. But I think Leprechaun, it's like 3 or 4.
No, there's like 6 or 7.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Wow. Well, shows you what I know.
So next, we're pitting Ghostface from
Scream.
From Scream against Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ghostface. Yeah, that one's a little hard because there's a lot of kills in those Scream movies.
The Battle of the Faces.
Leatherface. I mean, obviously the first one kind of limited on the amount of kills, but I imagine that the sequels for Texas Chainsaw Massacre go like off the rails.
2 goes pretty crazy. I haven't seen.
See, now you're leading me down the path of where you.
Well, but also, and then there's plenty of reboots of TCM. Right? There's the 2003 reboot, and I feel like there's another one.
So there's 4 Screams, and at least...
I think there's more Screams than that. Is there only 4 Screams?
I think there's only 4.
How many Scream movies are there?
All right, I'm going to say Leatherface.
You're going to say Leatherface? You're right. There are only 4 Scream movies. That's impressive. Huh. So you're saying Leatherface? I'm sorry. That's the first miss. So we have Ghostface with 34 kills. We have Leatherface with 31. Pretty close again. Wow. Yeah, you gotta pair them up.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we got Jaws, the shark from Jaws, versus Death, the bad guy in the Final Destination movies.
Oh. Gosh, I haven't seen many of the Jaws sequels.
Now we have 5. We do have 5 comparisons, so you got to get 3 out of 5, and so far you're at 2. You still got one more question after this.
I already forgot. Jaws and who?
Jaws, the shark from Jaws, versus Death from the Final Destination movies.
I'm gonna say Death.
Yeah, this is actually the biggest spread of all by a wide margin.
Because the whole premise of the Final Destination movies are interesting kills.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing it every couple minutes, then the purpose of your film.
Well, you are correct. Congratulations, Bryce. You have won the game, and you still have one more question left.
So what was the spread on those two?
Yeah, so we have a spread of 23. Jaws had 22 kills, and Death has 45. So,
I mean, technically, Death would have all the kills in all the movies, right?
Okay, well, but let's just calm down.
All right.
Like with that.
All right, last one.
So now we got our heavy hitters league. We got Michael Myers from Halloween versus Jason. Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. Who do you think has more kills? The answer may shock and titillate you.
I'm going to say Jason, just because Michael Myers moves so much slower that there's less kills per minute, just in general for Michael.
Well, I'll tell you who killed this game. It's you, buddy, because bing, 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 bing. Yes, Jason has quite a few more kills than Michael Myers, but both of them have racked up almost more than all the others combined. Yeah. Michael Myers has 129 kills, whereas Jason Voorhees has 158.
I'll tell you what, I watched the Halloween sequels this month. So I've done, the only one I haven't seen is, well, I haven't seen a lot of them still, but I've seen
of the original
several. So I saw 1, 2, 4, and 5. And I get it now. Like, all right, it goes off into
crazy,
like goofy, crazy kills pretty quickly.
Okay.
In 4 and 5, and you're like, okay. So the part where I turned the corner was Michael wakes from, from his coma from number 2 in Michael Myers 4 in Halloween 4 because it skips a movie, and he kills a guy by grabbing his head and crushing it, and you would think putting his thumb through the eyes of the skull would be where the go-to.
Yeah.
But no, he puts his thumb through the skull, like his forehead, just like right in the center, like where an Indian would put a dot.
You've never done that?
Just that concept is so ridiculous.
Yeah. It works.
And shocking. I'm like, okay, I get it. He's unstoppable.
Yeah.
And it's like goes into a supernatural area.
We do have a recent blog about this that pits Jason versus Michael Myers. So you guys should check that out.
Yeah, it's a really good blog. Halloween versus Friday the 13th, and it rates Jason and Michael Myers based on creep factor, creativity and kills, and some other stuff. It's really good. Go check it out on our blog.
Yeah, that blog is by Nikki, so thank you, Nikki, for writing that blog. We're looking forward to more blogs from her. So with that, that's our show for today. Thank you guys for sticking around. We sure do appreciate it. Make sure to head to our website, horrormovietalk.com, and enter your pumpkin, no matter how poorly carved.
Trust us. Trust us.
Enter your pumpkin into our pumpkin carving contest. We will share all pictures on our social media, and you'll get a shout out, unless you're too embarrassed by your shitty carving, or you're too embarrassed, to be shouted out.
Now listen, we have one entry, and so when we have 2 prizes, so you're guaranteed to win if you just enter yourself
at right now.
Right now.
So go ahead, enter the pumpkin carving contest. We do have a set of 3 Funko Pop bobblehead dolls from Hocus Pocus, and also the song Hocus Pocus by Focus. Make sure to share this podcast with a friend. It's the only way we can grow, and we sure do appreciate it when you do that. Head on over to iTunes to rate us and subscribe. Subscribe wherever you listen. Support the show by clicking through the links at the top of the banner of all the pages on our site, horrormovietalk.com. You can shop through our Amazon link, support the show that way, and you can also become a patron and have access to what we're about to record right now, the Afterpod, which is at this point a very sizable podcast in and of itself, where Bryce and I talk about life outside of Podcastville.
And behind the scenes stuff. Just everything that we normally talk about after the show.
Yeah, lots of gossip. Lot of gossip. So go ahead and support us any way you can. We sure do appreciate it. And make sure to watch The Lighthouse for next week. And with that, we love you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The French.